Hey everyone, it's James. How's it going? Um, it's time to give the answers to the two questions that I picked from people. I got a ton of questions, like over 200, but I picked the two that I thought would be the most interesting, but also the most informative. Um, so I picked a question from Susan and Susan W. And her question is, um, slow loading. Okay, her question is, are there any side effects to working on a cruise ship that people might not think about back home? Relationships, friendships, etc. Actually, that's a really funny question to ask because my friend Sachi signed off for vacation on Saturday, and she was mentioning how everyone has kind of, in a way, moved on, which doesn't. That sounds worse than it is. When you're on the ship, it's extremely hard to keep in touch with people just because of cell phone, when we're at sea, stuff like that. So, working on a cruise ship, you do lose touch with a lot of people. A lot of those people you do meet back up with, but a lot of them are not available during your vacations. So, it really is a big lifestyle change, and it has a huge impact on that, just in the way you want to think about it. Like when I go home on vacation, I try to arrange my vacation with other people from the ship because the people who I know back home from school are either still in school or busy, and I'm 20, so my friends are my age, and they're very, and I say this in not a bad way, but they're undependable in terms of financially. And if I say, hey, do you want to go? I'm on vacation in 2 months. Want to go on a cruise to Bermuda for a week? They might say, oh yeah, that sounds awesome, amazing, I'll do it. And then you talk to them a month later, like, oh, well, I don't have any money, stuff like that. So planning things with 20-year-olds is extremely difficult. That's why I don't like doing it. So it has a bad effect in terms of that, but you can move past it. So what I try to do is just keep myself really, and I think a vacation as more relaxing time than anything. But that is why I try to arrange things with friends on the ship to do with them later. Like last contract, I went to Vegas for a week with my friend Mark, and so things like that. That's mainly why I do it. All right, and the next question is from Alan J. Does the service charge work? Does the crew like it? Do people remove it? What are your views on that? I picked this one because it's debated so much. The service charge, because of freestyle dining, and not just NCL, but if you look at most of the other cruise lines have gone to this auto tip. Now, people who say they were never told about it, when you book your cruise, it mentions it, or your travel agent should mention it. But that's not what I'm talking about. What is it? It goes to mainly your waiters, your junior waiters, your restaurant stewards, your buffet crew, your housekeeping, your assistant housekeeping, your senior stateroom steward. Imagine it broken in half. Then people say, $10 a day. That's a lot of money. Well, how much are you going to tip waiters if you get breakfast, lunch, and dinner on land, and people who clean your rooms? I mean, if you think about 4 people pretty much could help you per meal, and if you divide $5 between 3 meals, it's like $1.75 each. Divide it between 4 people, I mean, it's like a quarter. So, it's not a lot. I mean, it annoys me when people say $10 is ridiculously high, and then they go to the Marriott Beach in Kauai and buy a $12 Mai Tai and drink it in a minute. So, yeah, things like that. The tip goes well. I mean, especially on the international fleet. I mean, you have people who could work for just a few $100s a month total. The auto tips is a majority of their pay. I talked to crew members who worked on the ships before freestyle cruising, when we had the envelopes, and people would not show up on the last day of the cruise to tip out their waiters. $10 a person per day. You're getting your room cleaned twice a day for a week. You're getting 3 meals a day, if not more. And we all know that you eat more than 3 meals a day. You might say that's not true, but believe me, I know that you have 5 to 6 meals a day in the buffet at least, and then snack wise, and then so yeah. If you say you only have 2 meals a day on the ship, I know you're lying because you could tell that to your friends and relatives, but we know the truth. So imagine all those. I don't know. So the auto tipping works well. An example I always use. Let's just say I'm working in Liberty, which is the main dining room. I'm on the floor serving guests, making tips, and the kitchen's going slowly. So what they do is they pull me off of the floor and they put me back in the kitchen to either, if it's breakfast time, make toast so other waiters don't have to, or if it's at nighttime, muck the dirty trays so when the waiter brings back the dirty trays, they can just set them down. I'll take care of them, and then they could go back out and serve you. So the result is I'm being pulled off the floor. I can't make any tips. But in return, I'm assisting your waiters who are then giving you faster service, which equals better service. So with the auto tips, I'm not being penalized because I went to the back of the house to help your waiters come out and do a better job for you. So I hope that makes sense. And people say, we get a ton of cash tips. I don't work in main dining, so I can't really talk that. But if it wasn't for auto tips is extremely important. It helps out everyone. And people ask why isn't it billed ahead of time? And I mean, I guess a few complications with that be is when it's billed on the ship, we get that week. When it's billed ahead of time, you have to figure out how many guests, what crews are working on the ship at that time. So I think it's more difficult to bill it ahead of time and then have the ship hold it. But yeah, so people who tell me that they're not going to cruise on the cruise line because they have to pay, what turns out to be they have to pay 75 cents for a waiter to do a fine dining meal. I'm coming from one side, but I know that I will go on I'll go on a cruise as a guest, and a waiter could literally throw a glass of water in my face, and I will still not remove the auto tips because I know if I do, because of this one person, I'm going to affect 100 people on that cruise. So, I think everyone should work in a restaurant for a week. You'll get a huge new understanding of it. So, anyways, those are my two questions. When you see this video and you're those two, Susan W. and Alan J., email me your info, and I have these two little boxes to send to you. Anyways, that's it. Sorry this took a while to get out there. I'm having some internet issues.